Mummer has strutted up Broad Street.
Well, also on Wednesday evening, we'll be bringing you a one-hour special edition of Evening Magazine. We're calling it Mummer's Eve. We're going to be taking a look at parade preparations, and we'll be showing you some things about the Mummers you may never have known.
Now, naturally, we associate New Year's Day with the Mummers, but actually, the Mummers work all year round. So right now, we're going to give you a look at some of the people we call the Summer Mummers. They call it 2 Street, or the Neck, an area in South Philadelphia seen by the tourists but once a year, New Year's Day, a spot that's pure Philly. To the outsider, the music most associated with these streets is the theme from the movie Rocky, filmed in South Philly. But to the native Philadelphian, this is Mummers country, and they've been around a lot longer than Rocky Balboa.
If you trace the history and the origin of Mummery, you can go back to pre-colonial Philadelphia. In 1901, the city fathers seen fit to have one big parade on Broad Street, and that was when we had our first organized parade.
Parade coordinator Ed Regan and business manager Joe Quattrone are members of the Freilinger String Band, a band that marched down Broad Street for the first time in 1915. 71 years later, they're still strutting their stuff and doing it very well.
First of all, our music is our forte, is our strong point. Freilinger can always be competitive just with our music alone. A band's judged in 3 categories. Costume, they can get 40 points maximum. Music, 40 points maximum, and 20 points for drill. And Freilinger feels we can always hit that 40 mark if we do our job.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The man who helps them do their job is music director Herb Smith, considered one of the best. He was inducted into the Mummers Hall of Fame. What year was that, Herb?
What year was it? 1977, I was inducted into the Hall of Fame, which was really, it was hard for me that at that age and at that time that I would be inducted, because there's a lot of guys that went through this that were, that deserved it a lot more than what I did.
Not everyone in the band is as modest as the music director.
I'm sure we would get different opinions, but generally speaking, Freilinger is the best band, yes.
Mummery is a combination of music, comedy, and high stepping. One of the best high steppers is Freilinger's captain, Bill Bowen Jr., whose father was also a captain in Freilinger's.
Well, basically, New Year's Day, the captain leads the band up the street, dances in front, and I've got the easy job, I guess. We have a lot of fun with each other, but when it comes down to the competition, New Year's Day, we want to go out there and we win, and we've been very successful at it.
You work hard here. This thing isn't easy, believe me. Probably if we put as much energy into a private enterprise, we'd probably all be millionaires by now. But again, it's a great out. We get together, we drink, have a few beers, a little conversation, tell a few jokes, play a little music, and just enjoy it. It's really a great thing.
It's something that's, some people say is born in you, and once you're in Freilinger, we have very, very few people that ever leave the band. And it's something that I look forward to, and I hope that I can spend and retire in Freilinger. It's something that keeps me young.
Well, here's to the boys in the band.
The Freilinger String Band has a number of firsts to its credit. It was the first to use vocals in a performance, and they were also the first ones to use saxophones.
Also, once again, our coverage begins at 8 o'clock on New Year's Day. We hope you'll join us.
We'll be right back.
It's great, wonderful.
It's part of Philadelphia. It's part of me inside.
It's a fun day down here.
Tonight, on a special edition of Evening Magazine, a Philadelphia tradition comes alive. Over the next hour, we'll take you behind the scenes as the Mummers prepare for their annual strut up Broad Street. Go with us to clubhouses all over the Delaware Valley as they put the finishing touches on their marches and their music. Plus, mummers on the West Coast? You bet, and we'll take you there. Then, a look at romance within the mummers, an up-to-the-minute weather forecast, a parade survival guide, and much, much more as Evening Magazine celebrates Mummers Eve. We are just a few hours away from 1987, and that means we're about 12 or 13 hours away from the annual Mummers Parade. Happy New Year, everyone. I'm Ray Murray.
And I'm Nancy Glass. We're coming to you live tonight from Mummers Central. We're located at 15th and Market Streets. This is a very important location because tomorrow all 25,000 mummers will march by this spot, and just behind our camera here is the main judging booth, and that's where many of the mummers will be judged.
Now, the Mummers Parade has really been official in Philadelphia since 1901, but mummery in some form or another dates back a lot farther than that. Now, King Mummus is the ancient god of merriment. In German, Mummenkleid means a fancy dress, and Mummenspiel means a masquerade.
But in Philadelphia, mummer means the most fun you can have on New Year's Day. And here's how it all got started.
Great cities are known for great celebrations. Hong Kong has the Chinese New Year. Rio has Carnival. And New Orleans parties hearty at Mardi Gras. But what gets the city of Philadelphia dancing in the street is the annual Mummers Parade.
What are they doing there? Why are they doing this? Well, this is what they do back in South Philly.
And that's just what they've been doing here in Philadelphia for as long as anyone can remember. Every New Year's Day, the mummers parade through the streets on their way to City Hall.
And God help you if you left your front door open, because they march right in the house, right up to the bedroom.
Curly Connors has walked that route more than 50 times, but it's a tradition that goes back nearly a century. New Year's Day 1901, they say that was the first organized parade. Oh, it's not that they didn't celebrate New Year's before then, it's just that they weren't organized. Early American mummers roamed from house to house singing and making lots of noise. This no doubt disturbed the neighbors who tried to make them go away by giving them food and whiskey. Even George Washington reportedly humored them. Today, the payoff is much bigger. $318,000 in prize money at stake on New Year's Day, and 25,000 mummers competing for a share.
Good Lord. Competition, I think, is their middle name, the brigades. But the bands are more or less the same way.
Planning for the competition takes all year. Clubs raise millions of dollars for costumes, and they spend months rehearsing their routines, all to impress the judges on New Year's Day. The string band is music to a mummer's ears. It's not quite the Philharmonic, but then a Stradivarius would never last through these bone-chilling movements in the dead of winter.
Where are the strings? Might as well call it a saxophone band. In 1947, we had snow. We had the slush coming in. It got into the reeds and the accordions, and they sounded like clack, 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 clack. That's all you heard from an accordion.
What else does it take to be a mummer? Well, for starters, you'll need a good pair of marching shoes and long underwear. There are 4 different divisions in the parade, and you could say that it's the clothes that make the mummer. The comics dress rather, well, comical. Then there are the fancies and the fancy brigades, and of course the string bands. Now, all you need are some dazzling dance steps, and a mummer's favorite footwork is, what else? The mummer's strut. Anyone can do it.
Couple steps forward, couple of steps backwards, forward, backwards, and he turns around. But you don't see people doing that today. They're just jumping around with this. They do anything and everything. You have to feel like being at a party and jumping around and all.
6 years ago, the first Mummers Parade lasted about 2 hours. There were 2,500 marchers and a little over $1,700 in prize money. Today, the parade extends over 12 hours and there are 25,000 marchers. The winners will divide over $300,000.
When we come back, we'll look at the time, talent, and money behind the elaborate and dazzling Mummer suits. Plus, transferred Philadelphia Mummers march in their own parade on the West Coast.
We are back live at 15th and Market Street, standing right in front of City Hall. Now, for the Mummers, preparing for showtime tomorrow is a year-long process that consists of countless drills and rehearsals.
Well, even before those rehearsals begin, the Mummers spend long hours and literally thousands of dollars creating that look, that unique combination of choreography and makeup and costuming that hopefully will win them top honors.
Now, traditionally, Mummers made their suits themselves, but as the competition on Broad Street became more like Broadway, the image of creating a Mummer became a big business. The culmination of any Mummer's year is the show they give on New Year's Day. But before they step foot on Broad Street, the Mummers spend long hours designing the suit, the makeup, the choreography that will make them big winners. Because first, the Mummers must create an image.
You made the coat and vest fit the best. You made the lining nice and strong, but Sam, you made the pants too long.
Because it's the first thing the judges notice as they strut up the street, the most important part of the Mummer's image is a memorable suit. Being memorable today means paying an average of $400 to $500 per club member. These costs have made the tradition of homemade suits nearly a thing of the past. But they mean big business to the professional costumers in town, like Bob Finnegan of Images.
Well, basically, a lot more of a designer feeling has entered into this parade. The costumes used to be made even before the professional costumers that now exist, mostly in families. It was the Mummer's tradition. And then in the last 30 years, it went into the costume houses, and now it is basically developed into such a high art that there are definitely color trends, definitely cuts of suits, looks that have now become trendy.
That face, that wonderful face, it shines, it glows all over the place. And how I love to watch it change expressions.
A good suit will only take you so far. To win, the Mummers must complete their package, and that involves makeup. As far as professional Mummers makeup is concerned, Jim Losasso is the only game in town.
Each band has their wives or their girlfriends volunteer their services. It would just cost too much to have a crew come in of mine or something, so I have classes with them, each and every band, to teach them the makeup of that year or the design. See, costume and makeup goes hand in hand. One without the other doesn't work. You know, you can have a nice professional face, but if you don't have a professional costume, it doesn't, it has to go, you know, one works with the other. It's like having a tux without your top hat and cane.
Finishing touch to the Mummer's image is a way to show it all off, and that comes through in dance and choreography. As costuming and makeup became more sophisticated, it was only a matter of time before drills became dances. And Dennis Quayle of the Quaker City String Band helps the Mummers make all the right moves.
I just think the general public wants more in entertainment. Years back, people didn't get out there. There wasn't Atlantic City, there wasn't Las Vegas, there wasn't major production shows going around. And when people want to be entertained, they want to see the best.
this may make the Mummers Parade sound like more of a Broadway production than a community tradition, remember that it's not an expensive suit, elaborate makeup, or fancy footwork that makes a mummer. It's the person inside. That whole footage is great, isn't it?
Oh, it's terrific.
You know, when you think of the mummers, you think of the elaborate headpieces and the huge plumes. And it's important to note that tomorrow, if the wind is blowing at 15 miles an hour, which is what Linda Gellinella calls breezy, I mean, that isn't even a strong wind, the suits can become difficult, almost impossible to control as the mummers strut up Broad Street.
Well, Nancy, there is one place in the country where if you're a mummer, weather is not really a consideration unless you're worried about a sunburn. You see, Philadelphia, believe it or not, is not the only place with a Mummers Parade. For the 5th year in a row, San Diego, California is holding its own parade. If you're looking for something new and exciting, California is the place to be. But some Californians are getting excited about an old Philadelphia tradition.
The San Diego Mummers Parade. Everyone can laugh and have a ball.
Started by transplanted Philadelphians, the San Diego Mummers Parade grows larger every year. Each New Year's Day, more and more Californians gather in Balboa Park to strut their stuff.
Mummery, as far as we're concerned, is just people who want to dress up and make merry, have a great time.
I'm a fancy bird.
A major league mummer? For this area, yes. Philadelphia area, no.
For the San Diego Mummers, the San Diego Mummers, the San Diego Mummers Parade.
Of the Mummers Parade, Philadelphia is the largest importer of ostrich plumes. The plumes are predominantly displayed on the back piece of the costumes. Some costumes use as many as 10 dozen plumes at a cost of $48 per dozen.
Next, the 87 parade will be different than ever before. We'll tell you what to look for. Then, the female mummers strut their stuff. Our live Mummers Eve show. Right now we have a guest with us. He is Jim Donio. Now, this is a man with a 15-year history with the Mummers. He has been a choreographer. He has been a suit designer. He has strutted up the street. But this year, he is KYW's expert commentator. Welcome, Jim.
Oh, it's great to be here. I'm really excited.
Jim, 25,000 marchers tomorrow, divided among 4 divisions. Do you see any trends showing up in any of those?
Yeah, definitely 2 trends I would talk about, Ray. One of them is something I call the creature feature. For the past couple of years, in the string bands and the fancy brigades particularly, they've taken to portraying animals or living things. Let me just read a list to you. You're going to see something like cats, bats, rats, bulldogs, butterflies, penguins, poodles, snakes, tigers, alligators, apes, hippos, lions, dinosaurs, just to name a few.
Sounds like
and
the
also,
zoo, Jim.
definitely, rock and roll is here to stay this year in the Mummers Parade. All 4 divisions will hear rock and roll music, see rock and roll personalities, attitudes portrayed all day long.
Now, there's something unusual happening with the string bands this year, something that's never been done before.
Right. The Polish-American string band was last year's first prize winner. And this coming year, they've chosen to do something quite dramatic, a sequel of sorts. Last year, they did Dr. High-Tech and his robot Rambo. This year, we're going to see Dr. High-Tech in his computer concerto.
Wow.
Captain Ray Danielewicz will portray Dr. High-Tech again, and a futuristic businessman this time with him, a large computer screen and a terminal, and they'll be playing sort of an oldies but goodies concert.
Now, Jim, you have, I know, over the last several months personally visited over 40 of the Mummers clubhouses, and I know that you've said to both of us on many times, it's a shame that all of them can't get first place.
Really?
But at this point, Jim, I'm going to put you on the spot if you don't mind. Any early favorites?
I don't know if I would say favorites, but there are definitely some records that some of the marchers are going for. In the fancy division, the Golden Sunrise Fancy Club is going for 5 consecutive first-place victories. Captain John Lucas, their captain, is going for 3 in a row. In the Fancy Brigade division, the Saturnalian group is going for its 3rd consecutive first-place victory. And in that captain's category, Captain Bill Burke of Golden Crown is going for 4 years in a row. Really tough when there's such competition out there, you know.
What does the competition mean in terms of dollars, Jim?
Nancy, some of the groups can spend anywhere from $50,000 to $60,000. And that keep in mind, that's not just for their suits. It's the captain's suit. Now we have scenery, props, makeup. You pay a choreographer. It all adds up. And some of the groups, of course, don't go to professionals. They still try to do it on their own.
Now, we understand that last year there was a first in the parade.
Absolutely. The Fancy Brigade Division last year saw its first female captain, Debbie D'Antonio, with the Hearts.
Well, right now we're going to go and visit Debbie and see the Hearts in action.
From Adam in the Garden to Armstrong on the Moon, from caveman to Superman, they've been singing the same old tune.
I believe it's a world for everybody to do what they want to do, not just men.
Deborah D'Antonio put that belief to work when she broke what was perhaps one of the last male strongholds, the Mummers, a Philadelphia tradition and one of the more exclusive boys' clubs. It's now co-ed. They call themselves Hearts, and although the costumes hide their femininity, they're the first organized female fancy brigade in Mummers history. But they didn't announce their existence to the world right away.
We kept it quiet for a long time. I'm very shy. There's still people that don't know that I'm the captain.
She marched in her first Mummers parade as a non-member, something that many women do. But for Deborah, it wasn't enough to be seen and not heard.
You had no say. You had no vote on your officers, your theme, your band, your music. Really, you had nothing to say.
But now they've got plenty to say, and in the city of brotherly love, the sisters are making their move.
We plan everything, we do everything ourselves, it's our own theme, our own music, our own drill.
And go! One, back right, stay in place. Now snap, go to the back. 6, hop, go.
Deborah's mother is the business manager for Hearts. She and her husband weren't exactly surprised when their daughter told them she was starting her own fancy brigade.
Well, once she paraded with us and she got a little taste of it, I thought if anyone was going to try something, I figured she would be the one to do it.
Well, I did warn her that she might get some resistance, but I wasn't surprised because the last parade that she marched in, she looked like, I can put this production on. Woman can do this.
And maybe they can do it better.
The man catches a snag. They'll forget about it. A woman will get into the problem, and it ends up you put it together, no matter how long it takes.
And that's the kind of determination that got them to Broad Street. Chances are they'll be around for a while.
I think in a few years, there'll be 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 all-female brigades.
Well, as you can see, the Hearts are working very hard, as are all of the Mummers clubs.
Yes, indeed. But this year, the Hearts have added something new to their program. This year, 6 male members will make their debut with Hearts. And we will be right back, so stay with us.
The first woman to march in a Mummers parade was a journalist in 1924. She was disguised as an Eskimo, and no one found out until she wrote about it in her newspaper column. It wasn't until 1986 that women marched on their own.
Coming up next, we'll meet 3 generations of a Mummers family and check in with Linda for a parade weather update.
Those of us who live in this city know that Philadelphia is really a city of neighborhoods. It isn't unusual to find 2 or 3 generations of the same family living on the same block.
And Nance, that theme certainly carries over into the Mummers because the core of many of these clubs is the family. And the perfect example of that is the Broomall family of National Park, New Jersey. Since the first Mummer marched up Broad Street, there was always a son or two ready to take a spin at strutting along in his father's footsteps. However, in today's world, following tradition is not everyone's idea of keeping in step. But when it comes to mummers, tradition lives on, especially in the Broomall String Band.
The band was founded by Peter A. Broomall Sr.
The president of the club is Jimmy Broomall.
The vice president, Eddie Broomall. The captain is Pete Broomall.
PJ plays the sax.
It's a family affair. It's a family affair.
3 generations of Broomalls. Jim Broomall.
It's automatic. It's a tradition. It's in your blood, and you hear string music, you get that spirit.
Pete Broomall.
Yes, I do feel that I'm obligated to keep it going, to keep the wheels turning, and hopefully I can pass that feeling on to my son.
PJ Broomall.
I plan on being a mummer for, like, the rest of my life.
Let's not forget Ed Broomall, Jim's brother, but he was a little camera shy.
I'm no good at this.
Jim's wife, Mary, but she was too busy to talk. And Pete's wife, Ethel Jo, and she had plenty to say.
It's constant. It's not just one day a year. In this house, it is constantly every single day.
3 generations of mummers, a family carrying on the tradition started by Jim's dad over 50 years ago.
My father worked in a Navy Yard for 33 years as a carpenter. His hobby was string band. In 1930, he organized his own string band. Naturally, you need money, so he had to mortgage his home in order to take the band out. In 1931, he went on Broad Street with the band. That was a butterfly suit.
My memories of my grandfather is one of a small, thin gentleman who loved to perform and entertain people. He was a showman.
Peter A. Broomall was not the only showman in the family. Soon, everyone got into the act.
1933, that was my first day on Broad Street. And I was really proud. I had put some boots costume on.
I started when I was 4 years old.
Been marching for about 12 years.
When you're born a Broomall, you're born a mummer. It's not something you talk about, it's a family tradition.
It's always string band, and it's always mummers.
It's just assumed that, you know, you're an offspring of the Broomall family, and it's assumed that you're going to participate into the parade.
Ethel Jo was not born a Broomall, but she married one. Did she know what she was getting herself into?
Yes, I did. And I was 13, he was 14 when we first started going out together, and he was in the mummers then. And of course, when we were going together, he didn't go to too many practices or, you know, jobs or whatever, but as soon as we were married, that was it. He started going to everything.
You won't find Ethel Jo marching in the band, and she doesn't play an instrument. So how does she support the club?
You're looking at it, baby.
The Broomalls live the mummers lifestyle, and they wouldn't change a thing.
It brings our family closer, that we're sharing a part of our family heritage together.
My father looked back now, he'd be really proud seeing his grandson and his great-grandson marching today in the parade.
By me, oh, stand by.
Now, the Broomall String Band is actually the last of the string bands named for a family in which family members continue to carry on the work. But with us now is a member of the Channel 3 family, our weathercaster, Linda Gellinella. Hi, Linda.
Hi, how are you? Happy New Year.
Thanks, Linda. Now, of course, the question on everybody's mind is, what's the weather going to be like tomorrow?
The weather has to cooperate. We're hoping it does. Actually, for the kickoff of the parade, it looks like conditions will be fine. There's even a possibility we may see a little glimmer of sun. But then as the day goes on, the weather conditions begin to deteriorate slightly. We're expecting an increase in clouds as the afternoon wears on. And then right about sunset is the chance for some precipitation to begin. It should begin in the form of some light snow, and then it could change over and mix with rain as the evening goes on, becoming all rain late at night. As for the winds for much of the day should be light. light, but then we expect the winds to kick up a bit as the precipitation moves in. They'll become northeasterly at about 10 miles an hour, gusting, though, to 15 to 20 miles an hour. As for temperatures, we're expecting a high about 40 degrees. That means much of the day, the marchers will march with temperatures above the freezing point. So all in all, looks like the weather should cooperate for much of the day. I would really say, as far as inclement weather, the bulk of any precipitation should hold off until New Year's Day night.
Do you have any idea what to do about cold feet? And I didn't mean to interrupt. My feet are frozen to this street already.
Start jumping up and down.
Okay, good.
Lots of socks. Layers always help. They really do. Natural fabrics.
Good advice.
I'll be wearing at least 3 pairs myself tomorrow. I'll be located right here, too,
Oh,
at City Hall.
shoes over those?
And watching the
If
weather.
they fit.
Okay.
Now, of course, we won't know if the parade is on or off until tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. That's when 2 members from each division will meet here with the city parade coordinator, George Corelius, and they will all vote on whether to go or not, and they will get their information from the National Weather Service forecast.
Now, Linda, if the parade does not happen tomorrow, what are the alternate dates?
The alternate date in the event that the parade is postponed tomorrow would be Saturday. Saturday should be sunny at this point, but it is going to be windy, and that can cause a problem. The second alternate date would be this Sunday, and should there be a problem there, the next alternate date will be next Saturday. But we hope that is not going to happen. We hope it goes off tomorrow. And, you know, the weather is still susceptible to change.
Of course, so we'll be warming up our electric socks, an extra pair for you, Ray.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll be right back, so stay with us.
The marching of mummers depends upon the weather. In 86 years, foul weather has postponed the parade a total of 22 times. Each postponement cost the city of Philadelphia an estimated $60,000.
Next, mummers talk marriage, and the judges of the parade reveal their identities and tell us why their role was kept secret for 85 years.
In the area in which almost every mummers club who comes up Broad Street tomorrow will stop and perform for the judges. Now, it's important to remember that depending on their division and their category, each club is given between 1 and 5 minutes to perform.
Now, you don't really think about this as a competition, but that's what it is. There's more than $300,000 at stake. The money's important because the winners always take that money and put it into the next year's competition. And every club gets money just for participating.
Well, who are the people that make those decisions and pick the winners? Let's meet them.
How do you judge 364 days worth of planning, months of rehearsal, painstaking attention to detail, costumes handcrafted and home designed? How do you judge a year of dedication and love?
You're the top. You're a silver dollar. You're the top. You're an arrow collar. You're the nimble shredder, the feet of Fred Astaire.
Now, until last year, the identity of the people who picked the tops was a closely guarded secret.
I think there was a feeling that if the judges were known, the mummers would physically attack them because they didn't like their scoring. And for years, nothing was more secret in the entire city that I know of than who the judges are. I understand that some years ago, there was a meeting here at Mummers Museum where a judge offered to come out and explain why he scored a certain band a certain way. And they got so angry that he had to physically run out of the museum.
Let's face it isn't easy for 25 judges to keep track of everything they see in a 12-hour period. So each judge is given a specific category or categories to score. But what do they look for? We found some brave souls who would tell us.
I love a strong captain who's very traditional, and that kind of pulls it together.
And the main thing I unconsciously think about, that it should not be terribly professional. It should have an amateurish tinge to it in order to give that buoyancy that the mummers are known for.
Obviously, I look for that boom that just gets right to your heart. I look for, it doesn't even have to be the most original theme in the world. It has to have heart. It has to have a unification.
There are explicit instructions and point systems for scoring each area. And at the end of the day, the judges...
I walk away from there, it's 21 years, with a headache. And the thing is that I wondered if I did a good job.
Worrying whether we did it right. Worrying whether 5 points should have gone here or 2 points should have gone there, worrying. Because you want everybody to win.
The prize is worth a lot, but it isn't the dollars that drive a mummer. It's the pride and recognition. And you get the feeling that that's what motivates the judges as well.
I wish that a Philadelphian could have the viewpoint that I have, sitting in that judge's booth for those 2 minutes of presentation where that adrenaline flows like you cannot possibly imagine for something that people have been preparing for, not only for a year, but it's a tradition, a lifetime. And I see that flow, and I have to tell you that for the 5 or 6 years that I've been fortunate to serve as a judge, my eyes fill up. It's that exciting.
On the wings of love, forever two of us together flying high upon the wings of love.
The sights and sounds of love and romance. But here's a love song in a different key.
It's two people that make a relationship. With or without his music, we would still be together. But I love going and watching him perform and doing different things with him.
It's nice having her along. So she can be a part of it, too.
Have a dream, baby. Two can make that dream so real. One can talk about being in love. Two can say how it really feels.
It was just another South Jersey string band job for Bruce Mulford, but this time he was in for more than a little amusement.
Well, the string band took a job at Clementon Lake Amusement Park, where Harriet works.
I had saw Bruce with the string band, and I thought he was nice looking, so I mentioned it to a girlfriend.
I was offered a ride on a golf cart with my string bass out to my car.
And he got on, and all the girls got off the cart. So I took him to his car, and he asked me out.
It started with a ride on a golf cart and ended with a march down the aisle. And guess who was at the wedding?
I love him very much. He's gentle, sweet, kind, and lovable.
She's just perfect for me. That's basically the whole thing in a nutshell.
I don't think we would have met if it weren't for music. I play the alto sax, same as Brian. He plays the lead and I play the harmony.
A strong lead, good harmony, and practice. That's what it takes to make a happy marriage.
2, 3, 4.
Brian Saunders is the musical director for the South Jersey String Band, but Floss knows what it takes to hit the right notes in this marriage.
If I weren't involved with this string band, I would never get to see my husband.
I'm very busy, and we really don't have a lot of time to spend together.
Not too many people can say they march in the Mummers Parade beside their husband. It's nice.
Marching with your husband is nice, but marching in the parade 4 months pregnant, now that could be a problem.
No, actually, it was good. My doctor said the only exercise I can do is walk, and the parade is walking, so it was a good experience. I had no trouble whatsoever, except my belly got in the way. Jeffrey J. He's probably going to be a mummer someday, just like his father.
To me, she's everything that a person can want. She supports me regardless of what I do, and appreciate that, and she's just a big part of my life.
Well, as you can see, there is romance in the Mummers, but there is also superstition. There's something called the #1 jinx.
Well, the #1 jinx is really for the string bands. You see, in the history of the Mummers Parade, no string band that has marched in the first position has ever come in first place. So every year when they have their lottery, the band that marched first last year gets first pick. And if they're unlucky enough to pick #1 again, they get to throw back the number and pick again.
Well, we're going to be right back, so don't go away. Stay right there.
Each year, the Mummers Parade costs Philadelphia over $1.4 million. The Mummers spend over $2 million preparing for the parade. The parade has attracted as many as 2 million people on Broad Street, with another million watching at home.
When we come back, some helpful hints on how to enjoy the parade.
This is Broad Street, and if you're a mummer, this is like the yellow brick road, and City Hall is like Oz. I'm Grover Silcox. How do you get a ton of mummers up Broad Street without a hitch? Pretty good question, huh?
Fly heading 320, vectors in trail spacing.
Directing the flow of mummers up Broad Street is a demanding and exacting job with no room for error. Here in the radar room at Philadelphia International Airport, I'm here with professional air traffic controller John Reichenbach. John, how are you going to get those mummers up Broad Street?
From Broad Street. Grover, I've been with the FAA for 19 years, and I've worked the wide bodies and a number of other types of aircraft and the Concorde, but that was a piece of cake compared to working groups like this to get the right start and the right spacing at Broad Street. Of course, we anticipate that these groups will be on autopilot anyway and don't anticipate any problems.
John, I notice on the radar screen here that some of the fancy divisions and string bands are getting dangerously close to one another. What?
Mummers fly heading 320, vectors in trail spacing from the string division, currently at 10 o'clock, 10 blocks. String division fly heading 140, and that's a vector to your sequence behind the fancy division, currently 12 o'clock and 15 blocks.
Boy, was that a close call, John, or what?
No, not at all. I'm just waiting now for the comic division to report a visual sighting of Snyder Avenue so we can get started. And as long as the weather holds up, we shouldn't have a problem.
Right.
I am waiting, however, for the Virgo band to finish their de-icing on a spit valve on an alto sax before we can get that started.
I see. Fantastic. You heard it yourself. John Reichenbach in control, right here in the radar room at Philly International. Mummers are born, not made. It has to be in your blood, part of your genetic makeup. I mean, it does take a rugged individual to march all the way up Broad Street to City Hall in the dead of winter. Here along the parade route at Methodist Hospital, where most mummer babies are born, they say that only 1 out of every 10 has what it takes to be a mummer. Here with me is Dr. Carl Delabadia, head of obstetrics at Methodist. Doctor, what is the difference between a regular newborn and a mummer baby?
Well, as you can see, this baby adapts well to the headdress. When we put the saxophone into the baby's mouth, he begins to grip it, and instinctively.
It's a miracle of nature, sir. A miracle of nature. With thousands of mummers on Broad Street on New Year's Day, there are bound to be safety problems. With me is Officer Bill Riveron of the Philadelphia Police Department. Officer Riveron, what about safety during the parade?
Beware of flowing plumage. Believe me, you know, I had an incident one day. I was standing there and I got hit by ostrich feather, and I was disoriented for a week. So you got to beware of the flowing plumage. That's one sure thing.
They pack quite a wallop, huh?
Oh, they sure do. They really do.
I know I break for glitter myself. My own little tip. What's the bottom line?
Beware of high strutting areas. We have the signs. People should read the signs. You got to be careful. Beware of high strutting areas. Now I'm warning you. You're hit by a brass band. I warned you. The signs were there. I warned you. High strutting areas. Remember those words, high strutting areas.
You can't do any more than that, Officer Riveron. You got it, the bottom line. Man, it can get pretty darn cold out here watching the parade. Some people suggest wearing thermal underwear, woolen socks, a long overcoat, a sweater or two, even a hot water bottle. Even you folks at home might be cold just watching. As for me, I think I have the problem licked. I like to hang an industrial heater around my neck. Hey, I'm high all the way up Broad Street. It's easy to do. You just get an extension cord and plug it into your car lighter. Just make sure nobody's pulling out with your car. Hey, I'm Grover Silcox, and I'm out of here.
Mummers fly heading 320, vectors in trail spacing from the string division, currently at 10 o'clock and 10 blocks.
Now, I understand we have an update on the mummer babies from the Mummer Biology Lab, Ray?
I'm glad you mentioned that, Nance, because this has just arrived. It's just
Yes.
in. According to biologists, they're not long after those mummer babies are born. They develop a kick which is actually reminiscent of the mummer's strut. They say about the age of 1 year or so, Nance, when they begin to walk on their own, these mummer newborns will instinctively and mysteriously head up Broad Street in a northerly direction towards City Hall, much like the migration of whales and salmon.
Where did you get that, Ray?
It's just in. It's official, I think, as far as I know.